Listen in for some positivity and good times. The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I have here Mr. Kawan Karadaghi, and we're going to get to know him and have a conversation about his successes and how he might be able to help you. The floor is yours, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Kyle. I appreciate it. Honor to be here. And thank you for the great work and great podcast you're putting out, and love the content. So keep it up. And basically, I was born in Romania, grew up in France. I moved to Virginia.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not, in 1989. So Virginia was and still is sort of a little bit on the slower side as far as life goes, right? It's very relaxed there. And Virginia is a great place. And I learned a lot there. I was always going to Washington, D.C. growing up. And, that was a big experience in itself. So I like the city. I like the busyness a little bit more. But I grew up in Virginia, and it was very, very directionless growing up. I didn't have a lot of motivation to do things. Didn't really, just didn't know where to go. Didn't know what to do with all these thoughts and things that I had in my mind. I knew I was ambitious when I was younger, and I wanted to. I think everybody kind of is, and I still kind of am, but didn't know what to do with all that energy, So it was, spiraling up in me, and it caused me to, get in trouble a lot when I was younger, and I was very rebellious. So I just had a lot of energy. I didn't know what to do with. My mom got me into reading men's health magazines and martial arts, right? So getting into martial arts, Taekwondo, and that sort of helped me understand a little bit more about myself and kind of the things that I liked doing. I was very lazy as well. So I hated working out. I hated the feeling of pain or any type of strenuous activity. I mean, I was the laziest guy I probably ever knew. And, it's doing that. I one day stumbled upon, I had a mentor that took an interest in me and really, kind of saw me and listened to me, and just let me, have that space, and I trusted him for that. So, he has suggested that I try to take up, doing some theater, or doing some performance, related things, acting related things that would help. And I never thought that was something that I was going to do. So I had gotten into that, and I loved it. I love the creative expression, being able to have an outlet, right? And I think today, for guys, like you and me, the podcast, it kind of delivers that, because you're allowed to share a space with somebody. And so I think it's a great medium, and love the work that you're putting out. So it's, I found that I drifted along with that a little bit. And then I met a buddy who said, hey, we should move to California, and let's go to LA. And I said, all right, I got nothing going on, and I may as well, if I'm going to make something of myself. I knew I had to change. I had to do something different. I didn't want to fail as a human being. Whatever failure meant at that time, for me, it just meant not actualizing the things that are within you, right? The dreams and things you want to do, or aspire to do. And if you fail, it's okay, but at least you tried, right? So
Sure.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing that led me towards that discovery process. That was like a vehicle for me to understand who I was, what I was into. I looked at people's roles and characters, and I was fascinated by that type of stuff. So I moved to LA, and, I say it all the time, I stumbled on fitness. It was something that was always part of me. But the way that it happened, I couldn't even plan it. It just literally came knocking, and, I don't know if you're a big Rocky fan or anything like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, growing up, I watched a lot of Rocky movies, and I was always fascinated by Rocky and a man's decision to, essentially commit to something and have a desire and heart to be, great at it or good at it. So I was always driven by that, by the belief that you could excel, whether it be physically in a sport or something. Now, obviously if you're not 6'2" or plus, NBA is probably going to be a little bit tougher. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but you just got to work harder. And so I love the fact that with the sheer work and effort, you could do something with your life. And that's what kind of appealed to me in fitness. It was all up to you. It was all up to the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror to say, I have to do this, and I can do it if I truly want to do it. And that's kind of how I started there.
Now, was there a defining moment that just made you say, aha, this is what I need to do? Or it's just something you just thought of?
So going back, I'd gone into the martial arts, and I never got my black belt, right? I got my brown belt, which was a belt away from black, right? And going into that, when I was in working out, I'd been doing it for about a month. And I said, this is something that I want to do. I don't want to, do it halfway. I really want to commit, and I want to give this my best effort. So it just kind of hit me that I had to do this and stick with it, if you will, right? So that was kind of what it was for me. It was that decision where I looked at my life. I looked at all the things I did. I never got a college degree. I never got the black belt. There was maybe a girl I liked. I didn't have the courage to go up to her. It was all these little things that I hadn't done that added up to, okay, not this time. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I just stuck with it. And that was kind of it. And great things were born from that. But, I was going to school, going to the gym. Every day I learned stuff. I got injured. I met people with different viewpoints, and, you go to a gym, it's a melting pot in there. You got everybody, right, all types of characters. And so I learned a lot of stuff in the gym that just pertain to life, and the principles from fitness were translated to other things in my life, such as business, relationships, and just showing up. So that was kind of it. It was just a turnaround moment of a bunch of collective moments that had added up and really just pushed me to strive for more.
Well, one thing that I've noticed that our minds are geared to keep us in comfort. Once you step out of that comfort zone, that's when your mind starts telling you, oh no, you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this. It's been one of those things that holds people back. I for one, that was always in the back of my mind. No, you shouldn't move. No, you shouldn't try to pursue this, or you're going to fail. And I just decided one day it's time to stop listening to that voice and just go out on a limb. Like you say, even if you fail, at least you say you tried. Once I told you before we started, I used to live outside of Houston. It was a big step for me to move all the way up here to Austin. And I'm away from my family and my friends, but it made me spread my wings. And then I basically had to stand on my own 2 feet up here, and it's led to so many things. My world has opened up. So yeah, I get what you're saying about get rid of that voice, stop listening to the no's, and start saying yes sometimes.
100%. And it's such a good point that you brought up there. Moving away from them and is a very difficult thing to do, and I experienced that as well. But the growth on the other side, like you said, is just tremendous. And that's right. There's that voice that comes in, and even till now, I still deal with that, where it's kind of holding me back from doing things that might be good for me, right? So it never really goes away. I think you just have to learn to, like you said, we're designed to, be in those zones where we're not pushing ourselves towards danger. It's a defense mechanism, right? It's our bodies, our minds trying to protect us from, making bad choices or survival or whatever, you know, you want to call it. And even when I was working out and I started working out, there was still that, you know, that holding back that I shouldn't do it or that I should just stay the same. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to that. You know, you look at all the people around you, everyone's dealt with that and they still do. You know, what would they be if they listened to that or if they didn't actualize what they wanted to do, right?
So, in your podcasting, do you reach out to get people to come on your show?
Yeah, I reach out. I try to find people there, and usually they'll also just, you know, apply to the show or just send me a message, and then I'll look at their story, and yeah, usually we go from there. So the messages usually come in, and I'll just go through those and try to see what's going on, because there's a lot of interesting people out there,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
every one of them has an amazing story. So it's definitely sometimes, you know, a challenge to, because I want all the people on there. It's just, I look at my editing, my budgeting, I'm like, man, I have to release an episode every day. That's a tough thing to do because I'm already a little, you know, I'm very fortunate. I have some episodes lined up in queue. So yeah, so that's that process.
Well, the reason why I bring that up, and I don't know if you experience this or not, but whenever I'm going to invite somebody to come on the show, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, God, you sound so stupid, or you know, these people are going to laugh. You know, who are you to ask these people to come on your show? But you know, getting past that and just taking that chance, man, I've gotten some remarkable people on here, and
Mm,
that's why I say it's opened up such a world that I've made friends that I would have otherwise not made, and certain, I guess you'd say, acquaintances. Yeah, I've got. I talk on the phone with people who are famous, you know, and if I hadn't taken that chance, I wouldn't have got to know them on a personal level and say these people are actually my friends. And I won't drop no names, but
hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
exactly right.
yeah. So I mean, you've experienced that, correct?
Oh yeah, it's you know, when I first started doing it, I would get, you know, guess that appearances are so deceiving, right? So you see them, you think, "Oh, what's going on?" You have no idea who these people are. So you know, and I think they know that. So a lot of them have videos, and they'll have things to sort of warm up their presence a little bit, and I think that's brilliant. But absolutely, there's been times where that's happened to me in real life. You know, I walk around, and the gym is a notorious place for that. You know, my whole hypothesis behind it, or theory, if you will, is, you know, when you're working out, you're in this, you know, mindset of giving every set you have, every rep you have, your best, and then you're naturally in a state of high alert, right?
Right.
Or just battle, right? It's a battle against you and the weights, right? Wherever that is for you. And so you see someone, and immediately your mind constructs sort of a image or feeling or belief about this person, right? Or, you know, otherwise also known as like a snap judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone muscular, someone that, you know, looks glamorous, or these models, right? And you think all these things of them, and then when you go and you connect and you talk to them, you realize, wow, I just learned a bunch of stuff from this person, and this person just genuinely opened up my world and my viewpoints to, you know, the world out there and what's meant to be out there. And the possibilities are endless. And I've definitely had that in real life, where I've had to step away and sort of stop myself from doing that, and also understand why I do that, and so that I don't get upset when it happens. But oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. And especially podcasts, and when you hear them talk, you say, wow, you know, everyone's got a fascinating story behind them, and what a beautiful space to allow that to take place.
You find a lot of people they just want to be treated like everybody else. They need a platform to maybe get a message that you normally wouldn't get from them. Uh, and I've also learned to appreciate the things that I do have. I had a guest come on who had that their family had risked everything to come here from Cuba. Their story was
Mm.
remarkable, and how much they love this country, and they're productive, and they're just great all around people. And
Wow.
I don't think we get to know that. You know, you see them, then maybe they're on TV, or you know they're in a rock band or something, and you just think that they just live this glamorous life when they just want to be a regular Joe, and they like being treated that way.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
Let's get in talking about your gyms now. It's my understanding you own three.
Yeah, my business partners and I, Dan and David, we own three Anytime Fitness franchise gyms. So we co-own together and we operate them as well. And then we're expanding to larger markets by hopefully by the end of this year, further in Southern California as well. So yeah, it's been a journey, and especially with COVID and everything happening,
Yeah.
it's definitely been a wild ride.
So I'm gonna take a little step back. When you started your pathway to success, did you find that you needed to make your circle around you a little bit smaller? That maybe there was people in your life that were kind of toxic that were holding you back?
I think 100%. Yeah, I think and I love all the people in my life that's contributed in some way towards helping me become who I am, and there's so many that have. But eventually, you get to a place where you have to. There's so many principles in there, but environmentally, kind of speaking, is what you experienced when you moved, and I moved as well.
Hmm.
A geographic move is always something that will, place you in an environment where you are able to grow more. So I think that in itself is key. And the second being the people in that environment are key to your growth as well, because they introduce new thinking, new methodologies, new strategies, ideologies that you wouldn't experience if you were, somewhere else or where you used to be. Because, I think I heard it best, but it was a resemblance of weak ties, strong ties, and dormant ties. And weak ties are people that you don't necessarily have an opportunity to assimilate with because they're outside of your field or they're somewhere else. And when you do, they introduce you to new things that are just game changers or open new doors for you, right? But you'll never reach them unless you're in that environment. So that's one important part of it. Your strong ties are people that, you know, um, are just like you. They have the same values, the same principles, and they kind of have the same thinking. And if you're surrounded by people like you, right, it's tough because I don't know about you, but for me, I need somebody different. If I'm surrounded by a bunch of me's, it's probably not a great thing. As much as I think of myself as I'm constantly growing, it's that important to have people that provide different perspectives. Dormant ties are people you've worked with before and that have either you have lost touch with. So I read that in Give and Take by Adam Grant, and I thought that was a great way to explain it because when I look back on my life, the only reason I got to where I got to was by the people that I was surrounded with. It helped me to get away from the habits, routines, things I was doing, to introduce new habits and new routines and new thinking that I had been doing. Right. So it grew smaller over time. Also, the third thing is it grows smaller because if you constantly work on yourself, and you're constantly improving or trying to get new knowledge or do things like that, you're naturally going to just outgrow or grow more than those around that aren't doing that. So that was the other eye opener. Is eventually I got to a place where I was forced to surround myself with people that pushed me further, because it was the only way that, as uncomfortable as it was the only way to grow. Um, it's tough to say, but you have to surround yourself with those type of people that push you spiritually, mentally, whether it's athleticism, whether it's physically. It just helps, and then you're forced to either get stronger or not. So I credit a lot of my anything remotely successful to the people that are around me, and have been supportive of me and pushed me, so that's I owe it all to them. If I listened to everything that I thought was right, I'd probably be stuck somewhere in Virginia not doing much.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. The people that I'm the most closest to in my life right now are the ones that challenge me, that push me to grow and be better. There's people that are still, to say, in my life, but I love them from afar
Mm,
because even though I've known them for 30, 40 years, they're they're stuck in that same old. They're content where they're at. They're doing things that I myself do not want to do anymore, like the drinking or drugs, things like that. I don't need that. So if I was still in that circle, then I would probably be that same person I was, doing the drugs, drinking, all
mm.
that stupid stuff that has held me back. But once again, the people that are now in my circle, they're not yes men either. If I'm screwing up, they tell me I'm screwing up. They tell me where I need to improve. If I'm doing a good job, they'll say, "Yeah, you're doing great, but you could do this much more and be even better." I keep those near and dear to me so I can be a better person.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. That's so true, and especially, it's hard to look past. And I lived for the weekends, and I partied and I smoked a pack a day.
Mm,
It was tough for me because I had to get away from that. And I loved it. I enjoyed it, going out, socializing. It was fun, but it was too much fun.
mm-hmm.
And you just didn't really, we're going to amount to much doing that, right? Unless you become a professional partier, which they exist.
Oh
More
yeah.
power, more power to them if they're making a living doing that. But I wanted something a little bit more on actualizing some other areas of my life. So I totally understand, and can empathize with what you're saying, because I went through that and it was tough.
It is tough. Here's people that you would hang out with all the time, and that was your drinking buddy. You cried on each other's shoulders when you got drunk, and now it's okay. I still love you, bro, but I can't hang out with you anymore. I'm sorry. Let me talk a little bit more about your gyms. Now, with all the competition that's out there, and I'm not going to mention those names because I don't want to give them the attention. What made you decide to go into, fitness and open these gyms when you have such competition around you? And did you get any kind of negative feedback when you decided to do it?
It's a great question. The competitive market here, being that we're in more capitalistic, is a thing that's you're just going to have competition.
Mm,
It's always going to be there, and much like our conversation before, it can strengthen you, or it can make you feel like you're defeated. And the thing that we try to do is realize that competition is never really going to stop. And we try to be more, hands-on with the members. So it's a smaller community of a gym, right? It's not a big box gym. It's a little known 6,000 square foot. So we try to be in that realm, and the scalability of the name of Anytime Fitness allows you for quicker recognition, faster, ability to expand, being a smaller company, versus large corporations that have tougher times moving along, right, or moving around and being more flexible and adaptable. We just have less legal jargon and legal or loopholes to jump through. We can operate more freely. So it was challenging at first. We did know that in the end, being gym guys, all of us, that it was just, market share that we were after. We knew that there's a demographic of people that would come to our gyms that weren't falling into the big box territories, and they weren't falling into the smaller, boutique, high intensity training gyms. So we said, okay, somewhere in the middle is what the franchise helped us realize. And that's when we kind of saw what that was. So, personal training, hands-on with the clients, being there for them, being friendly, always there, is what kind of sets that apart, because the gym can be intimidating, and going into these spaces makes that less so in our gym. So we try to open up the market to that demographic. We know that we're not for everyone, and you can't make everyone happy, right? So that's the market that we go after. I think that's an important thing to realize, is saying that, these are the gyms or these are the members that we're after, and going after those customers that like you and your product.
So do you find that makes it easier for that person that otherwise wouldn't go to the gym or is already scared? Because whenever I first started going to the gym, I, I walked in and I saw all these people doing all this stuff with, muscles and all lean and everything. And I got very, very intimidated, and I almost was ready to quit before I even started.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And being that so, I say that right there with you. I've been working out for about, I want to say, 2009 consistently. So it's been about 10, 11 years, maybe a little more. And I joined another gym just to kind of see. It was a little closer to my house, see what was going on, and, get a feel for it. And I walked in, I saw the weight room floor, and I immediately felt that what I used to feel, because it was unfamiliar territory, right? So till this day, it's still there, right? And here I am, I'm 10 years in, and I'm still feeling that. But it's everybody there. If you look closely, everyone's just like you. They're trying to work out, they're trying to get their things together, and then it's just part of this um, natural thing that comes with gyms, as it just seems intimidating. And my message to that is, you have to just ease into it, focus on your form. You know how to do the exercises, right? So go in and start small, and kind of lightly, dip a toe in there. You don't have to go all in, but feel it out. Check the water, see how it's going there, right? And then when you come out, analyze it. Did you make it? Are you okay? Okay, good. And now you can build some efficacy there. The body knows what to do. It's, the mind, we get in our way and create obstacles and things. And sometimes none of it's really there, but it's an interesting thing. So I try to ease in and go with exercises I know to do. And I say, okay, well, I'm going to go do this, and have a plan. So that way you're not just wandering around looking like you're not knowing what you're doing, which is kind of like a big fear of, I guess, most people, including myself.
I know when I'd go lift weights or something, I was looking around to make sure nobody was watching me, because I know I'm doing probably not even half of the weights these other people are doing. I'm like, please don't watch. But you get there. I stayed pretty steady with it until I had moved, and I was so far away from my gym, I just kind of gave up. You help other people that are trying to succeed, and how do you go about doing that?
So, there's so many ways that, whether it be mindsets or, attitude shifts, or even, strategies that we try to employ on each other, and in, whatever the case may be with members of the gym as well. And I think that the most important thing that I've always tried to do is try to, allow others to see where to look, but not show them, what to see, right? And for me, it's always been about listening, providing any type of feedback if they ask. As before, I would just kind of give advice and then realize that it wasn't being, taken, right? So for me, it's all about helping others come to their own realizations, asking a lot of questions, and then providing value wherever I can. If there's something I can help with, I'll do it, right? And then if not, I point them in the right direction. But the best thing to do for anybody is to help them find it. And once they do, they feel empowered to do so and to continue on it because it's their idea, it's their effort. So a big thing for that is even with clients that I've had or personal training clients was, being that sounding board for them, allowing them the space to talk. And, much like a therapist does, right? I have a therapist who, and she's great. She just listens. And then I come to all these answers on my own. And then at the end of the conversation, I say, wow, you're really great. And she laughs and she says, you did all this talking. And she guides me, right? She asks questions. I see what she does, and it's just brilliant because it just looks like she's not doing anything. And that's the power of getting someone to help them is truly allowing them to help themselves and just providing guidance and showing them the way, right? Because you can't force anybody to do anything. You can't. If you say, hey, well, you better do that, they're going to run away. They're not going to do it. And, I've learned from experience. I tried in my beginning days. I knew all the things that needed to be done, but, you know, people don't want to be told what to do. They want to be kind of led to how to do it. And then they want to decide to do it.
I found it kind of funny whenever I was going to therapy. My therapist would guide me through this conversation to where I gave the answer that, basically I already knew it. And they would point that out. You knew the answer all along.
Which is all the better, right? Because then you say, yeah, and then they look back and they say, yeah, exactly. And then you feel empowered, right? And you say, well, and that's kind of their job, right? That's what they're believe it or not. And for me, it's just a lot of when I talk to mine, I just vent, I need somebody to just talk to, before we got on, I think you were telling me, you strive for that connection and getting people on the podcast to talk to them. And I think that's kind of what it is, surrounding yourself with people that listen to you, push you, and or even allow you space is imperative for that growth. All my great mentors, all the people that I look back and I thought, man, it was like magic, But when I look back, it wasn't. They planned it all out. They were listening. They put little minimal encouragers in there. They asked the right questions, and then they wound up that person and wound me up, and off I went. And I thought, wow, there was powerful principles in there, but I didn't realize them until later. And that was a beautiful thing. And I try to learn from that. I said, how can I do that? Because a big thing for me before I got into training or even during training was a lot of force, right? I was a drill sergeant, not in the sense of yelling while I trained people, but in the sense of methodologies, principles, and practices that had to happen. And I tried marking that, and I said, this method I learned very early on, this is not going to work for you because it didn't feel right. And I read a book recently called Power versus Force, and power comes from things like acceptance, gratitude, whereas force is ego, or anger, right? So these things are less influential or powerful. They cause people to shy away, and you can feel it when something's not right, when you're doing something right. So I try to listen to that as much as I can and say, this is not right. I have to do this differently. I have to change the way that I do things. And meditation is something that helped me with that a lot.
Yeah, meditation is definitely a big factor in making you successful. You start your day off and bring in those positive affirmations and try to dispel the negativity, and it definitely changes you, how you feel, how you treat other people. But say
Mhm.
someone like me, I come to you and I say, Kawan, how do I become more successful in, say, my podcasting? You are you able to give me the direction to make that happen?
It's funny you ask. I think with the podcasting thing, you've been doing a little bit longer than me, so I think I'd have to come to you for advice. In my for me, I always point people to resources or things that I have come across,
Mm-hmm.
and I point them and I give them as much information as I can. And I always try to help with research or anything that I can do in my ability, which is provide my intellectual property or my time or my effort. And that's kind of what I aim to do is to help people realize that. I say, okay, this is something you want to do. Here's these things that can help you. I try to take the legwork out of the process, right? So if there's something that someone's interested in, I'll say, hey, I did all this research for you. I found these things that were able to make your thing come true here. And this is what I think I might work for you. And I'll send everything that I find. So you'll be amazed that people, love doing that or will appreciate that because of the effort that you put in. And one of the best things you can do if you don't know something is just to provide yourself as the service or as the front runner there to take the legwork out for them. And it's just a leading by example type of thing, right? And that's when they say, wow, this person did that, and now I feel inclined to also to do something. So my message to anybody that is looking for that first step is to know yourself and know who you are and what you want. And that's just about having that honest conversation, with yourself. And um, I'm always available for those that truly seek out betterment of themselves or wanting more. I wouldn't be where I am if someone didn't take an interest in me. So, and anything that I can provide as help, I'm more than happy to do so. And I think that's what the world needs more of is that for each other is to help each other in ways that we can't do alone. And that's what makes great teams. That's what make great businesses and relationships. It's just about that care. It's about saying, hey, I'm going to do something for you here, and I'm going to help you out, even though I don't have to. Right.
Right.
And that's it right there. And leaving that little bit of magic everywhere you go is key, because I know, and I'll say it time and time again, I just wouldn't be where I am without people that did that for me. So it's just I have to pay it forward.
Even someone like me, I'm in my 50s.
Oh
And
wow, I had no idea. You look young, man.
thank you, thank you. Well, I guess chasing those grandchildren around does
That'll
keep you
keep
a
you
little
young.
youthful.
Yeah.
But say somebody like me, I'm in my 50s. I can still use a mentor. Don't be so egotistical that you think, well, I'm an older guy. What can these other people teach me? I've been around the block. There's a lot of things that I learned, even from people that are much younger than I am. I have a great circle of friends who encourage me to stick with this, but I still have yet to find that person who says, okay, this is how you run your YouTube or your, Spotify, iHeart. This is how you get the subscribers or you get the followers on social media. Yeah, as I've stated before, don't be so egotistical that you can't open yourself up to get the help that you probably need.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. You gotta be able to ask questions. You gotta be able to say, I don't know everything that there is to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just say and open up. So many people don't do that. It fascinates me, and it's a tough thing to navigate because you're trying to get to this goal and you don't know how to do it, and there's so many different routes you can take. So I always try to make a list of things. I say, if this is what I want to do, how do I get there? And what can I do to get there? So I say, okay, well, you can research stuff. You can talk to mentors. You can do, your own independent test on it, see how that goes. And you can emulate or role model other people that are doing it and pick up little strategies from them. But having somebody like a mentor or somebody to help you can save you just, immense amounts of time of trial and error and pain. And it's worth the money, to do so. Being a trainer, so many people were hesitant to start training and do that. And, it was some of the best decisions they made, because it bypassed years of the things that they were doing that weren't working, and helped them to get to their goal in less than half the time, because of the strategies and the systems and processes that, as a mentor, you go through to give that information. The best thing you can do is talk to somebody that's walked the path that you want to walk, because they have experienced everything for you. They went through the pain, they learned everything, and now here they are. And most people will be happy to do it. If you ask them and say, hey, I know you get probably asked this a lot, but I really, want to do X, and I need your help, and I'm willing to help you in any way that I can. And then most people will say, yeah, that sounds great. I'll do this for you here.
You have to be willing to invest in yourself. That's the way I look at it. Well, the last part of this conversation, I would like you to, number one, talk about your podcast, and let's promote it.
Oh yeah. Wow. Thank you, man. So yeah, I started ValueVerse in April of this year. I've been putting it off for quite some time. I think the pandemic happened, and it gave me a reason to sit down and really ask myself what I wanted to do with it. And I looked at different outlets, different things I wanted to do, and nothing really appealed to me. Podcasting really stood out because of that connection. And I've had, so much to learn from listening to podcasts such as yours and other shows out there. So, I've learned a ton, and I thought that would be a great thing. So I started in April, and, ValueVerse essentially goes into the insights, trials and triumphs of people in business, and entrepreneurs, thought leaders that they've experienced, and to help, other people learn from and utilize as well. So it's that space where we just get into the vulnerabilities and the storytelling of what those people have, kind of like, the space that you have here, which is such a wonderful platform to be able to talk about these things with. It's very, very natural, and you're a great host at it. So yeah, check it out. And if you like what you hear there, we're on all the platforms, and on Instagram at ValueVerse as well.
I just jumped right into this podcasting thing. I had no idea what I was doing, and I learned something new all the time. So my suggestion is just get out there and do it, even if your first couple episodes suck. Just do it. Get started. And if you pay attention to where you started from, and you apply something new each time you do a podcast, you'll grow significantly.
Man, that's right.
I go back and I look at some of the ones that I first started. I'm like, oh my God, I was awful back then. But from there to here, and I've still got a lot of growing to do. I know that. But you just gradually, you're going to get there. Just get out there and do it. And like you said, find somebody that can help you maybe get a little bit quicker to your goal.
100%. And kudos to you for picking up and just going for it. And for me, a lot of things that held me back was, the perfection that it had to be perfect. It had to be a certain way. And I think just doing it, like you said, is the key, because you learn by doing. And then when you're, by doing it, you say, oh, wow, okay, I learned this, and committing to it, to the long haul that it takes, which is what you've done. You said, hey, every time I do something, I do something new. That's exactly it, is mastery. Doesn't happen overnight, but you got to start.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick with it. And I'm going to try to see what I can do. And yeah, it'll be probably a little rough, and those voices will come and they'll say, hey, don't do this. And but if you keep doing it, those voices start to get smaller and smaller, and then eventually non-existent. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love the work that you're doing.
Get those things out of the way. I mean, when I first got into it, I just thought, man, this would be fun to do. I was kind of bored with other things that I'd been doing, and so it was a kind of a casual thing. And for me, when I my spine started to deteriorate a few years ago, and I was walking with a cane, and if I was going anywhere for any amount of time, I had to use a wheelchair. So I had to retire early, and then I got on disability. But my mindset is I don't want disability to be my career choice. And I've also found a lot of people that were so interesting to talk to that I was able to expand from. I started out in paranormal, and then I got into the positivity and inspiration because I needed it for sure. So I knew other people would be interested in it as well. And I believe that this is going to be my business. And I don't want to get a real job either. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that. Podcasting is great for that.
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you, I finally ended up getting surgery. The doctor that I found, and mind you, the first doctor I went to said, "There's nothing we can do for you. All we can do
Wow.
is help you to ease the pain." And I found another doctor who went in and he put a cage around my spine and he put a bone graft in it, and I've got some pins in there that hold everything together.
Wow.
And now I can walk without the use of a cane or a wheelchair. So there's things that if you just put your mind to it, you can accomplish it. I mean, like I said, from going to having to be in a wheelchair to I'm getting to run around with my grandson now, that's a significant difference. Now, granted, there's still some health issues that's going to keep me from getting a regular job, but if you put your mind to it and you really, really want to do it, you can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What a story. Man, good job on seeking out different, opinions and strategies, and really implementing that. That's awesome, man. That's inspiring as well. The whole journey that you must have went through there.
Well, the theme is, I believe, of this show is the only one that's holding you back is you.
Yeah.
You know, take it from let's say Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa, he said, don't listen to your parents and your preachers and your teachers and all them that tell you that you have to do something a certain way or you can't do this, you can't do that. Just do it.
Mm.
That's paraphrase. That's not exactly what he said, but I mean that you get the gist of it. You have to make that determination. There, I had doctors telling me that I wasn't going to walk again. And so was I supposed to just take that and say, okay, I give up? Heck no. If there's a will, there's a way.
Beautiful, man. I love that. That's so true.
All right. So if people want to follow you, can you tell us your social media and your website and all those good things?
Yeah, thanks. So the website is the www.thevalueverse.com, and I'm on Instagram, very active on there, and that's just at ValueVerse. So yeah, check me out on those. I have little snippets on there, and the website has episodes as well. So definitely looking to collaborate with you in the future as well, if you're open to that.
And yes, definitely.
I think we'll get that going. You have a powerful story there, and I'd love to hear it out further.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time, and I think you've really helped me motivate me. And so I will definitely put the links to your social media and your website in the description so people can access it pretty easy. We thank everybody that listens or watches. I appreciate it. And until the next one, take care.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network